The sun had barely risen above the red hills of a Jaim village when Adan set out with her clay pot balanced neatly on her head. The early morning breeze carried the sound of birdsong and the croaking of frogs that never seemed to leave the great river. Adan was known as a woman of endurance. A widow, with no children to call her own, she worked from dawn until dusk, farming the small patch of land her late husband left behind. Yet, despite her struggles, she was always the first to greet others with a smile. Adan, the old women would say, your back is bent with labor, but your heart is not bent with bitterness. That morning, as she walked to the river path surrounded by tall elephant grass, her heart was heavy but hopeful. She whispered a prayer to the ancestors. May this day not bring me sorrow. May my hands never lack strength. At the riverbank, the water shimmered in the light of dawn, alive with ripples that looked like silver threads. Adan bent to dip her pot, when suddenly, a sound startled her, soft, like a baby crying. She froze, listening. The sound came again, mingling with the gurgle of water. Slowly, she leaned closer. Then, from beneath the greenish depths, a face emerged. Adan gasped and stumbled back. It was a woman, no, not a woman entirely. Her skin gleamed like polished bronze, her hair floated like strands of seaweed, and instead of legs, she bore a shimmering tail covered in scales of green and gold. In her frail arms, she clutched a small baby. Who are you? Adan whispered, clutching her wrapper tightly. The mermaid coughed weakly, her eyes heavy with pain. I am Mommy Wada, and I am dying. Her voice echoed as though carried by the current. This child cannot survive in the waters. Take her. Raise her as your own. Before Adan could respond, the mermaid placed the baby on the sandy bank. The infant's tiny hands reached up, her eyes shining like clear river water. Adan knelt, trembling. But why me? The mermaid gave a sad smile. Because your heart is pure. Care for her, and she will one day care for you. With that, the waters stirred, swallowing her back into the depths. Adan looked down at the baby. She was wrapped in cloth woven from reeds, soft and glistening with droplets that never dried. What spirit matter have I entered? Adan muttered. She picked up the child. Warmth surged through her arms, and strangely, her fear melted away. The baby cooed and pressed her tiny face against Adan's chest. A strange calm filled the air. Adan carried her pot on one hand and the child on her back as she made her way back to the village. When the villagers saw her, whispers began. Adan has gone to the river and returned with a child. Whose child is this? From where? Could it be witchcraft? But Adan ignored their tongues. She only smiled faintly and said, her name is Nena, my mother's gift. Raising Nena was not easy. The child was unlike others. When she bathed, the water seemed to cling to her skin like dew on morning grass. When she cried, the sound echoed like a stream rushing over stones. One evening, Adan's friend Ngozi whispered, Adan, tell me the truth. Where did this child come from? Adan only shook her head. She is mine. That is all that matters. And so, Nena grew, hidden in plain sight, sheltered by Adan's love and silence. By the time she was 7, the child showed signs that she was no ordinary girl. When Adan fetched water, fish would leap out and land in her pot unbidden. When Nena laughed, rain clouds gathered, showering the village with blessings. Children gathered around her, fascinated. Look at her eyes, one said. They shine like the river. The elders, however, grew uneasy. This child is touched by spirits, they muttered. Adan guarded her fiercely. She is my daughter. Spirit or not, she is mine. Despite Nena's wonders, Adan remained poor. Her farm yielded little. Sometimes they went to bed hungry. But Adan never regretted the day she carried the child from the river. One night, as they sat by a small fire, Nena held Adan's calloused hand. "Mother, why do others have more food and better clothes, yet you smile more than they do?" Adan sighed. "My daughter, wealth fills the stomach, but love fills the heart. You are my wealth." On Nena's 16th birthday, something remarkable happened. That night, Adan dreamt she stood at the riverbank again. The waters parted, and Nena, clothed in garments of light, said, "Mother, your suffering will end. The river remembers your kindness." The next morning, Adan stepped outside to find baskets of fish glistening like silver, and cowries scattered across her doorstep. From that day on, her fortunes changed. Adan's hut became the finest in the village. She wore wrappers dyed in indigo, her barn overflowed with yams, and no child in the village went hungry because she shared freely. But envy, like a snake, began to coil in the hearts of some. "She is using witchcraft," they whispered. "Or she has made a pact with spirits." The chief, greedy and restless, summoned her. "Adan, bring me the girl. If she is the source of your wealth, then she belongs to the village." Adan knelt but lifted her head firmly. "Nena is my daughter. She belongs to no one but me." The chief grew angry. He sent men to take Nena by force. But that night, the skies darkened. The river rose from its banks and surged through the chief's compound, sweeping away his treasures. Not a drop touched Adan's hut. The elders gathered in fear. "The river spirit has spoken. Leave the child." From that day, no one dared to question Adan again. When Nena reached womanhood, she revealed her true nature. Her voice was calm, yet powerful. "Mother, I am of the river, but you raised me with love, not greed. Because of that, you will never know." She blessed Adan with endless riches, not just gold and cowries, but the kind of wealth that ensured her descendants would prosper. Adan lived to see gray hairs on her head, surrounded by abundance and respect. And so, the story of Adan and the mermaid's child was told for generations.